For Australians, let's start with the variability issue between El Nino and La Nina, and it's such a confusing message because we go through these very dry, hot periods where there's no water and suddenly there's a deluge of water. And so what are we to think, and how is this going to change going forward?
Well, here in California, we have a lot in common, for instance, with Queensland. Our history has really been written in great droughts, great floods,
yes,
and of course, great fires. And recently, you've really had it in spades in Australia. Now, the question is, as the larger climate changes, will these droughts become deeper? Will the floods become more severe? Will the fires become more frequent? Or will the great cyclones that rip across northern Australia become more intense? This is really important because the population density and the infrastructure in a place like Queensland has really changed dramatically in the last half century. And so you're more vulnerable than you ever were earlier in your history. Mm-hmm. And so we're intensely interested here in California, as you are in Australia, with understanding the nature of the changing El Nino and La Nina.
And what do you think is changing about those two patterns?
Well, at this point, I think the fundamental thing that has changed about El Nino and La Nina are the impacts.
Yes.
And of course, this is primarily due to an increase in population density and poor planning with your infrastructure. All right. But as we look out into the new century, will El Nino become more frequent, or will La Nina become more frequent? All right, because your entire civilization is built on the transition from El Nino to La Nina and back again. And when we look back, even hundreds of thousands of years, we see these transitions from extreme wet to extreme dry. And of course, now civilization is much more precarious. Mm-hmm. Because it's much more complex.
Sure.
Right.
It is. And it's so difficult for people to cope with those mixed messages, Learn how to save water and then learn how to sandbag because there's so much of it.